Have you ever felt really sad, perhaps about losing a relationship or a particular opportunity? Sadness is one of those emotions that is most often connected with emotional eating. We want to swallow that sadness down and forget about it. I am going to show you in this video some different ways of managing your sadness so that you can feel better without reaching for food. A very important point made in acceptance and commitment therapy is that we do need to accept the emotions that we're having rather than just trying to push them away or dismiss them. And I think this is especially true with sadness. It is okay to feel sad. And the more you can allow yourself to be with that emotion for at least a little while, the more it becomes tolerable. And as the saying goes, a sadness shared is a sadness halved. So sharing it with somebody else can be a positive thing, or even expressing it out loud, for example, by tapping and speaking out the thing that you are feeling sad about, or the things can really help to lower that emotion in a way that honors it and actually fundamentally changes it rather than simply pressing it down, repressing it, where it's most likely to pop back up in the same form or a different form at a different point in time. Another point that I would like to make about sadness is that we can be sad about happy events. And this seems very counterintuitive. But for example, there is a certain grieving process perhaps involved in, for example, getting married, because you're completely changing your life. You will no longer be young, free, and single. And while there are a lot of positives around getting married, possibly, there can also be these negatives. It can feel like a loss of freedom, it can feel like a loss of potential. There's the saying that every time you close a door, a window opens. And when you get married, for example, you are closing a door to some things while opening a window to something else. And yet it is still fair enough that you can feel sad about the options that you are closing the door on. Just because you now have this lovely window to look out of doesn't mean that you aren't sad about the door that you're not going to walk through. And so honoring that, admitting that, allowing that to be felt within yourself can be really important. Which leads us very clearly into one of the solutions to sadness, which is to tap and acknowledge these different parts. You could tap, for example, there is a part of me that feels sad about this. And maybe there's a part of me that feels it's daft to feel sad because it's something happy. And yet I recognize there is a part of me that feels sad. It is also possible to use tapping on sadness, which is simply sadness without any happiness necessarily attached. Just recognizing that and acknowledging it. For example, right now I'm feeling sad about this situation, and it is okay for me to feel sad. Perhaps it is safe for me to feel sad, and I can allow this sadness to exist while still recognizing that there are good things in my life. And through tapping, because it brings you to a more creative place, you will hopefully be able to connect with also the positives that exist in your life, even if they have no connection with the actual sad event that you are tapping on. Because there are always things that we can be happy about that can make us smile, even in the saddest of times. There are possibilities for happiness there if we will look for them and be open to them. So that's a tapping to try and open yourself up to those possibilities. Another potential solution is to do some havening on the sadness, on perhaps the memory or the situation that has triggered that sadness. This can be very effective because we draw up that emotion itself, we activate it, and then play some brain games to calm it down, to switch on other parts of the brain so that we can still recognize the emotion that is there. And yet we can also bring in the more rational side of us that can recognize other things that are less emotion laden. And bringing this balance into your brain is a very positive way of unpicking an emotion that has a tight hold on you so that it releases that hold and you can feel calmer, happier, and more creative. A really nice exercise to help manage the emotions around sadness is a breathing exercise called Crook's Hook. And the idea here is that you put your arms out, cross them over, palm to palm, and then draw your arms in to your heart space. And you just breathe there, a very balanced breath. So counting for the same count in as you count for the count out. So for example, counting in on 4 and counting out on 4. This is a very heart-centered form of breath and a heart-centered position, and one that feels quite safe, so it can feel quite nurturing and therefore supportive. So it can be a good one to help calm the emotions a little bit so that you can then dive deeper, for example, doing havening on the memory of the event that is causing you sadness or the situation that is causing you sadness. Another really nice tool to use for this would be what's called the butterfly hug. And this is just that you cross your arms over your heart once again, and then give yourself a little alternate tap, a little hug. And one of the good things about this is that, like tapping and also like EMDR, you're doing bilateral stimulation of the brain. So you're activating both the parasympathetic and the sympathetic sides of the autonomic nervous system. And you can definitely do this one also with that balancing breath of breathing in on the same count as you breathe out on, for instance. You might also use this to just talk about what your feelings are, or you could use it to focus in on your body. What are the bodily sensations that you notice within this sadness? Is it a stuckness at the throat, something you feel you almost can't swallow around? Is it a pain in the heart? Is it a heaviness in your stomach? Is it a prickling of tears in your eyes? Just take a few moments to notice whatever the emotion is and to honor and acknowledge that while giving yourself this gentle butterfly hug. A final solution to sadness, or a way of working on it, because sadness may be something that you need to manage over a course of time. It could be that there's something very real there that won't just disappear overnight. And yet this is about managing the emotion so that it isn't overwhelming, it doesn't flood you. And that's one of the metaphors that I use in the Sea of Sadness hypnotic meditation, where you acknowledge this sea of sadness, but also recognize that you don't need to drown in that sea, that you can find ways to float on it and perhaps to move through it and move elsewhere, so that over time you let the sadness die down to a manageable proportion, or you leave it behind after you've worked through it. Now, having been through this exploration of sadness, you hopefully have a better idea of perhaps where your sadness is coming from and of the importance of allowing it to exist as a natural emotion, and also that there are lots of solutions that you can bring into play to help that sadness to loosen its hold on you so that you can find it easy and simple to choose different options rather than reaching for food. And if you would like a little bit more support in quieting food noise, I also have a free mini course available, so check out the link below for that. And there are a number of different meditations of the kind that I've been talking about here, using havening, using visualization, using tapping. So if you want to understand those a little bit better, why not give the mini course a try?